All right, it's Super Centex After Dark. It's always wild. It's always fun. I thought I actually might start with my game tonight because I felt like I saw the game of the night, but
I
instead,
was I was thinking the same thing. Like,
but hang on. Instead, there's some things that are bigger than football, y'all. And I mean, I would think that for the Mexia Black Cats, tonight was pretty emotional. Uh,
what? Yeah, what a story.
Michael, I mean, just what was that like out there?
Well, you knew it was you could sense the vibe when you
When you
walked up. I mean, it was you knew it was like a powerful, emotionally charged night. The kids are running out of the tunnel, holding his jersey up. I mean, they've all got the stickers on their helmets, and they've got stuff set up for him. And I walked up to the visiting side, and I saw a lady, with these programs and stuff, and that's pretty typical at high school games. I just asked her, I was like, is there anything else going on for the Kirven family? And she was like, yeah, actually everything that we sell here, programs and stuff, all of that's gonna proceed, all of those proceeds are gonna go to the family, which obviously really cool. In fact, I told her, I said, let me know if you hear anything about that, after the game, like shoot me a text. And she let me know that I think it was either as of halftime or at halftime, like leading into the end of the game, when the cheerleaders are running around trying to sell uh the programs and stuff, like they raised nearly like $1,500 for the family, which I mean, that's just unbelievable. So really cool. And that's on top of, all the shirts that they were selling the week after the passing and all of that. So I mean, it just they've the community support has been overwhelming, and that obviously, played a factor tonight. The kids were ready to go. It was a tough day for them. Obviously, the funeral was this morning, at 10 a.m. So you could just tell that this was a really, really special night for them. And man, they laid the boom on him like from the start.
Hmm.
Took a 21 to nothing lead before you could blink. And I mean, you're
And
just
that's a
kind of
good
looking
and
around
that's a
like,
good
holy smokes,
Grosbeck
that's a
team.
that's a good Grosbeck team. Again, like as you mentioned in your story, Bryce, I mean, their only loss was to a state ranked team this year, and they've got playmakers. They're at home. They had every reason to want to get off to a strong start to district play. And I don't, you know, I think it wasn't that there was a lack of effort on their side. I just think Mexia played that freaking good.
Hmm.
Um, Clean game of football, and on the flip side, it wasn't as clean for Grosbeck, and in turn, a lot of Grosbeck mistakes Mejia capitalized on. I mean, the botched kickoff return, they scored right off of that. They had an interception, they had fumbles going into the end zone for touchbacks. I mean, it was a little sloppy. I didn't get a chance to catch up with Coach Bomar after, but I'm sure they're a little disappointed after that. But still, you have to tip your cap to a Mejia team that was clearly locked in, clearly had they had again, to your point, Bryce, they were playing for a lot more than just football in that sense.
Well, and we as journalists don't pick sides or anything like that, but how can you not feel good for Maya? I mean, that's a pretty big deal for them. So I'm happy for Aaron Knoll and the Black Cat community. They've been dealing with a lot. So
I saw that
I will get
score.
I will get to my game real quick. And I still have a lot to write about it, but um dude, I saw so like Joe Gillespie said, I told my team after like game two, game three, I said, uh, you don't have to be a championship caliber team today, but game seven, game eight, that's when you start finding out who you are. And what they found out tonight was that they're gritty. That was the word he used. Um, they get up 21-9 in the first half. Now, just a real quick a note about that. Temple has two touchdowns in the first half called back. A pick six, and on that one there was a block in the back, and then a kickoff return for a touchdown where there was another holding or block in the back or something. And I mean, so Temple's just like, ugh, oh, and then so Midway's got all the momentum, but clearly Temple's got, a good team. And They scored 24 unanswered. Temple did in the second half. They go up 33 to 21. Midway gets it to within 33 to 28, right? Uh, and then Temple goes down and all right. I mean, I'm just going to be a little critical here of Scott Stewart and the Wildcat coaching staff, Chad President over there. They get third and goal at the 1 yard line, and they bring in a back who has not carried the ball all night long. Um, okay. And they ran him two straight plays, and Midway stuffed him. I mean, that was ginormous, obviously.
And right, like if they kick a field goal, they're up 8 too, right?
Yes, that was the other thing. Greg Willie and I, if you don't know Greg Willie, longtime writer down there in Temple, uh, he's like, I don't know why, that was the other thing you could have done was kick the field goal. They did not. They chose to try to punch it in. Midway stuffed them. So now Midway's got 6:54 on the clock at the 2 yard line, and they just start marching it down the field. There was a huge play on like 3rd and 8 where Cash Pullen hit Charlie Cantrell for like 20 yards, no, 13 yards. Um, but Lathan Wissington had a huge night. I haven't done all the math on it, but he had over 200 yards of rushing. Um, Finally, he punches it in. 5 yard touchdown run. They run a little trick play, throw it to Pullen for the 2 pointer. 36-33. Temple gets the ball back with a minute and about 20 left. A minute four is when they actually had it. And Midway stopped them. I mean, Midway ultimately turned them over on downs. They win the game. And yeah, it's a big win for the Panthers. They got a bye next week. Um, and then I think they might have homecoming the week after that.
Yeah, the 25th.
Yeah, so
I've got a dog in the fight for homecoming queen
right,
next
you've
year.
already mentioned that. So all that to say, big win for the Panthers and Joe Gillespie's team. Temple's good, y'all. I mean, they're good. That was a good win for Midway on the road. All right, Chad, you saw a wild one, Franklin and Troy.
Yeah. There were times tonight when I thought this game was all that we thought it could be, and there were times when I kind of wanted to go home because it was like looked like it was gonna not be that fun, you know. But Troy scores on the first their first drive of the game. McMurtry hit Ketchum. It's Joseph McMurtry to Reed Ketchum for a 73-yard touchdown, and it was like, here we go, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then Franklin did their Franklin thing and scored, 3 straight touchdowns, running the ball. They couldn't get them stopped on third downs. And I mean, Troy created a 21-7 buffer and kind of kept that at least an 8-point lead the rest of the way. But and like at halftime, everything was not going my way. It was 35-13 was the score. I go to my car to send my photos, and my computer won't stay connected to my phone. First time that's happened all year. First time that's happened in years. And I was frustrated, and the game was, not going that well. And I thought there might be traffic driving home. It was just like everything was
How much
bad.
are you cussing at that point?
I did. I mean, probably some. I don't cuss very much. I don't know
Oh,
why you would
shut
say
up.
that.
I have heard some bleeps before. Go on.
Uh, so second half starts. In fact, I tried so hard to get photos sent that I kind of pushed it a little bit, and I'm walking back up, and I hear the crowd roar as I'm walking back into the stadium, and Troy has recovered an onside kick.
Oh,
So then I'm
wow.
like trying to get in and get through the gate, and I'm watching, and sure enough, they throw a touchdown pass to catch him on their first offensive play, right? So and okay, now it's 35-20, which it's
You still got a half to play, though. It's getting more
yeah,
interesting.
but like they only stopped Franklin once in the first half, and that was on just like a sloppy fumble. And so Franklin gets the ball and goes down and has a 4th and 1. And Troy stops him on it and goes down and scores. And so now it's 35-26, and it's just like, okay, is this going to be like this amazing finish, but like I said, Franklin just kind of did what Franklin does. They got first downs. They broke a couple of plays. Jaden Jackson had over 100 yards just on his first and last touchdown runs. Or
Wow.
no, his second and last touchdown runs. He had a 58-yarder and a 75-yarder. So I imagine he had well over 200 tonight. So, but a good game. I will assess that Troy is maybe not a state title contender yet, but looked pretty good. A lot of playmakers. Joseph McMurtry is the real deal at quarterback. He's the type of player that I think any Central Texas team would like to have.
Absolutely. God bless Levi Caraway, who I think a couple of weeks ago mentioned that like it was the first close game he ever saw for us.
Oh yeah.
And he didn't see one tonight. But how good is Robinson? Did they look pretty good?
Robinson's really good. Now that I've seen China Spring, La Vega, Lorena, and Robinson, I mean, Robinson feels like they're kind of head and shoulders above everybody else
Mm.
that I've seen in that district. I mean, obviously they're state ranked, but they're really good. Just a really complete team. And their defense is, man, they just swarm to the ball and they have some playmakers. On the third play of the game, they had a strip sack, fumble recovery for a touchdown, and that kind of set the tone for the game tonight. And it was pretty chippy early. I mean, both teams you could kind of feel there was a bit of a rivalry there. And I didn't realize this, but they're so close to each other and they haven't played since 2019. And so that was kind of like a cool little side storyline. But Robinson really didn't even need to throw the ball tonight. They were just pounding the ball on the ground. And Coach Lancaster said after the game, like Lorena was like the best defensive front that they're going to face and that they've faced in a long time. And their starting running back, Evan Moreno, had 200 plus yards and 4 touchdowns. So that goes to show you, like even though they were kind of, that was something that they were game planning for going into tonight. They easily took care of Lorena up front, and yeah, I mean they're really really good. I was really impressed by them.
But
Levi,
Vega Robinson, baby, that's going to be a ball game.
yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
fun. Levi,
Dibs.
we did that tour earlier today at Baylor,
Hmm.
and on the top of that weight room it said pound the rock.
Hmm.
Sounds like that's what Robinson did.
Yeah, they did. They do it more than Baylor does. I can tell you that.
Ouch. Hey, I'm calling it right now. Leader in the clubhouse, coach of the year, Super Centex coach of the year. I got to be Chris Lancaster, I would think.
Yeah, I really enjoy talking to him too. And I think something that was interesting too about him is he's one of the first coaches that I've ever talked with after a game that kind of like talk profusely about respecting his like the other team. Usually I haven't really seen that a lot in high school, but I think even though tonight was a blowout, I don't think Lorena is as far off as like maybe they seem because they have some young players. I think their quarterback is a sophomore and you can tell he's talented. He just needs to take care of the ball and kind of figure things out. And their running back is really talented. They have some good receivers. And I think like I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of snuck up and beat somebody later in the year, even though they're 1-5. I think they're better than their record shows.
Yeah, I think that's a good district. It just is. All right. Zach, I'm saving you for last because you actually did see a good game. And so we'll kind of bookend it with good games because it looks like La Vega just kind of took care of business in Gatesville tonight. Is that what happened, DJ?
Yeah, I mean, the Hornets are a tough, gritty team, right? Like they would not go away. They kept it within 2 scores for most of the game until the fourth quarter where, La Vega kind of finally put them away. But like they held the Pirates scoreless through the second quarter when they were down 14-0, right? That was the score at halftime, 14-0. And I mean, Rayshawn Smith is just a workhorse, man. Like he had like 25 carries for like 155 yards. And, he really is the one that's kind of giving them a chance because they haven't really figured out the passing game too much. There's been a few games where Garrett Keaton, who's a junior quarterback, he's had really good complete passes, but like you can't really do that against La Vega because if you don't work fast, you're just gonna give them the ball back, right? And that's what Coach Hunter was talking about. It was like we didn't want to risk the incomplete passes because Keaton had like he went like 10 for 18 in the passing game, didn't even have 100 yards, right? I think he maybe had like 80. They had to start passing the ball eventually because they couldn't find the gaps anymore, right? Like there was like.
And when you get down that far, I mean, you kind of have to pass it to try to score.
Yeah.
Big.
So Rayshawn Smith had a good night. What about his counterpart, Bryson Rowland? What did he do?
So, I mean, Bryson Rowland had a solid night. He had 108 yards for like 19 carries and a touchdown. But Don Hyde just was like not super happy with the running game. Honestly, they did better. La Vega did better passing. Like Courtney Parr had like 280. Hold on, I have it written down somewhere. Like some huge passes. And Jabari Thornton had 7 receptions, 2 touchdowns.
Jabari Thornton's a player.
Yeah, it was 242 yards on 16 of 20 completions, 2 touchdowns, an interception at the end of the first half that ultimately did matter because there wasn't enough time for Gatesville to do anything. But I mean, the funny thing is like up front, on the defensive side, Gatesville kind of outsized La Vega a little bit. Like their O-line had to come in on defense. Ethan Thompson and his name, Jaquavian Johnson, like they had to play both sides of the ball where maybe other times Don Hyde would maybe want to rest them so that they would be good for the offensive attack and, giving their running backs some space. But
they did that against Salina, and I think that they just need a little bit of big muscle in there sometimes on that defensive line.
Yeah, they were just outsized a little bit on defense, but their D-backs were just really good. Like part of the reason why Gatesville had a hard time passing was because Amir Gibson was stuck to Amos Phillips. Like, and I was a little surprised that they didn't also use their other running back, Cy Burns, Gatesville. Like it was all Rayshawn Smith, right? And it's really, I don't know, part of it's a little bit youth, part of it's a little bit trying to figure out the run game and working a little bit faster, not the run game, the passing game. Gatesville is just very methodical, and La Vega works really fast. So it was going to be the Pirates either way. But it's not like Gatesville didn't give itself a chance, right?
I'm with Chad. That La Vega Robinson game sounds like a winner.
And so you and DJ have to fight it out for that one, I guess.
Is that one next week?
I already claimed the Midway homecoming that night.
Oh, I got you.
Wait, but that's October 25th.
Yeah.
University's playing Waco High.
Well, I would go watch that blowout.
We'll see. We can flip a coin.
We'll figure it all out. That's down the road. But let's close it out with Zach. And so I think whereas we had a pretty good sense in the other 2 games in this district who was going to win, like we were all across the board on La Vega. We were all across the board on Robinson. The Connally-China game felt more like a coin flip, and ultimately it came down to a 3-point game.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that final score is a bit misleading. You want to talk about pounding the rock? That's what Connally did, and they had Jamarian Vincent and Braden Ford combined for like 50 carries for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, and they just kind of grinded the game down. And meanwhile, China Spring just kind of couldn't get out of its own way. Penalties after penalties. It seemed like every single play on both sides of the ball. Coach Beatty even said after the game that it's hard to call a game when you're starting from like first and long, second and long. Like that just makes it so much harder. And then once they started kind of, not tripping over their own feet, Matt Battles completed a long pass for a touchdown in the fourth quarter, and then they kind of drove again on Connally and cut it to within three, got a couple really good 2-point conversions. And then at the end, Matt Battles scrambles and just got rocked in Connally territory. I think the refs originally wanted to call it roughing or unnecessary roughness, but eventually picked up the flags where they could have kicked a game-tying field goal and all that. So I don't really know what to take from that game other than like both of the teams made a lot of mistakes. They looked like they had been coming off a bye, that they had lost a few games in a row. So like Connolly, that running game is really good, but I think China Spring has some potential. They just got to kind of put it all together, right? I know we've talked about that with Baylor a lot, but they kind of just got to put 4 quarters together and kind of do what they can do. Because I think they've got some good players there, but it's just like I said, they just can't trip over their own feet. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
saw a little bit of that coming off of bye week. My game was very sloppy, a lot of penalties, a lot of some unsportsmanlike, but a lot of pre-snap, and it's like it's week 7, but coming off bye week, maybe the attention span of the kids, I don't know, but
yeah,
too many flags.
and Connolly has Robinson next week, so that's gonna be
That's a good one.
it's gonna be over in an hour and a half. That's good for whoever covers that one.
Pound the rock, baby, pound the rock. Real quick before we go, I'll mention a couple other scores that just kind of stood out to me a little bit. I think Chad and DJ and I talked about a little bit about that the Brian Rutter University game might be an interesting one. It turned out to be. Rutter ends up winning that game by a touchdown. So, um, yeah, not a great start to district for the Trojans,
By the
but
way, the three of us that picked the games didn't get a single game right out of the three of us in the West Grandview Whitney district.
wow.
We all
Okay.
missed all of them. But we obviously all picked them the same, but we missed all of them.
Now, see, that's really misleading because overall our records in picking games are pretty good.
That's true. I wish mine was a little bit better, falling behind here. But
uh,
Whitney can't solve the Grandview puzzle.
yeah, yeah. I just think sometimes having been there and done that, that's a thing, and Grandview
Mm-hmm.
has. And so,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, and then one other one I'll mention, well, a couple others I guess I'll mention. Marlin gets a good win to start district over Crawford. Obviously, it's been a tough year for the Pirates. Um, and then so we talked about it like we didn't really know who the favorite was in that district. And DJ was like, Rosebud Lot, Cougars. I'm on the Cougars bandwagon. Well, Cougars took it on the chin, 21-20 to Riesel. Um, I just think that district's wide open, and maybe it's Marlin's district to win now. I don't know, but so don't sleep on Riesel.
I
Anything
did
else?
mention that I hadn't seen enough of Riesel to really,
Yeah,
you
true that.
know,
True
have
that.
an opinion on them. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true. All right. Well, I appreciate y'all. Thanks for staying up late. No Baylor game tomorrow, so enjoy your bye week, and we'll see y'all next week. Thanks,
I'm
Go
gonna
y'all.
go into
Sooners.
a food coma now. So
See ya.